Listen carefully, because this is not going to be comfortable. This is not one of those soft messages that tells you everything is fine while your life stays exactly the same. This is not designed to soothe you. It is designed to wake you up. And if something inside you feels uncomfortable while listening to this, good. That means it's working. Because the truth is, you have been asleep, not physically, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually. You have been living inside patterns that you didn't choose, repeating thoughts that are not yours, reacting to life in ways that were programmed into you long before you were even aware of it. And the worst part is, you started calling that yourself. You built an identity out of fear, out of survival, out of conditioning, and then you defended it like it was who you really are. But it's not. And deep down, you know it. There is a part of you, quiet, persistent, that has always known that something is off, that this isn't all there is, that you are not meant to live small, to think small, to feel stuck, to doubt yourself every time you try to rise. That voice is not random. That voice is truth. That voice is what you've been ignoring. And today, you stop ignoring it, because here is the reality you need to face. No one is coming to save you. Not your family, not your friends, not your circumstances, not some perfect moment in the future. No one is coming. And that is not a negative thing. It is the most powerful realization you can have. Because the moment you accept that, you stop waiting. You stop making excuses. You stop telling yourself one day. You understand that if anything is going to change, it is going to be because you changed it. And that shift is where your power begins. But right now, let's be honest, you've been choosing comfort over growth. You've been choosing distraction over awareness. You've been choosing fear over truth. Every time you know what you should do, and you don't do it, that's a choice. Every time you stay in the same patterns, even though you know they are holding you back, that's a choice. Every time you doubt yourself, when you could trust yourself, that's a choice. And you can keep lying to yourself. Or you can face it. Because until you take responsibility, nothing changes. And responsibility is not about blame. It's about ownership. Ownership of your thoughts, ownership of your actions, ownership of your life. Because right now, your life is a reflection of your patterns, not your potential, not your dreams, your patterns. And patterns can be broken. But only if you are willing to see them. Only if you are willing to stop pretending. Only if you are willing to be brutally honest with yourself. Because here is the truth most people avoid. You are not stuck because life is against you. You are stuck because you keep choosing the same version of yourself. You wake up and you think the same thoughts. You react the same way. You tell yourself the same story. And then you wonder why nothing changes. Nothing changes because you don't change. And that might hit hard, but you need to hear it. Because the moment you see it, you can break it. You can interrupt the pattern. You can choose differently. But that requires awareness, not surface-level awareness, real awareness, the kind that sees your thoughts and questions them, the kind that feels your emotions without being controlled by them, the kind that catches you in the act of becoming your old self again and says, "No, not this time." That is power. Not pretending to be strong, not forcing motivation, but actually choosing differently. In the moment it matters. And those moments are happening all the time, right now, even as you listen. because there is a part of you that wants to stay comfortable, a part of you that wants to go back to the familiar, a part of you that says, "This is too much." That part is not your enemy, but it is not your leader either. It is your conditioning, and if you let it lead, you will stay exactly where you are. So the question is simple. Are you going to keep listening to the part of you that keeps you small? Or are you going to step into the part of you that knows you are capable of more? Because both exist, right now, inside you, and whichever one you feed becomes your reality. Now let's go deeper. You have been taught to look outside for answers, to look for validation, to look for approval, to look for direction. But everything you are looking for is already inside you. Clarity is inside you. Strength is inside you. Discipline is inside you. God is inside you. Not as something separate, but as the very essence of what you are. And the moment you truly understand that, everything changes. Because you stop begging life for permission. You stop waiting for signs. You stop asking, "Am I ready?" You realize you were always ready. You were just waiting for confirmation from a world that doesn't know your truth. But your truth has always been there, quiet, but undeniable. And the only reason you don't follow it is because it requires you to change. It requires you to let go of the identity you've been holding on to. The identity that says, "I'm not ready. I'm not good enough. I need more time. I'll start later." That identity is a lie, and you've repeated it so many times that it feels real. But it's not. It's just familiar, and familiar is not the same as true. So now, you have a choice. You can keep living the same way, thinking the same way, being the same person, or you can step into something different, something uncomfortable, something real, because growth is not comfortable. Transformation is not easy. Becoming who you are meant to be will challenge everything you think you know about yourself. But that's the point, because the version of you that created your current life is not the version that will create your next level. That version has to evolve. And evolution requires letting go. Letting go of old beliefs, letting go of old habits, letting go of old excuses, letting go of the need to stay the same. And that is where most people stop, because they want change without transformation. They want results without discomfort. They want a different life without becoming a different person. And that will never work. So if you are serious about changing your life, then understand this clearly. You don't need more information. You need more execution. You don't need more motivation. You need more discipline. You don't need more time. You need more focus, because everything you need is already here, right now, inside you. And the only thing standing in your way is the version of you that refuses to step up. So step up, not tomorrow, not next week, now. Because this moment is where everything shifts. This moment is where you decide. Not what you hope for, not what you wish for, but who you are going to be. And that decision, repeated daily, changes everything. So stop waiting, stop doubting, stop hesitating, and start becoming. Because the life you want is not waiting for you to feel ready. It is waiting for you to act. And the moment you do, everything begins to change. Now stay with me, because this is where most people quit. Not physically, but mentally. This is where they hear the truth. They feel the discomfort, And instead of leaning in, they pull back. They distract themselves. They go back to their habits. They return to the same patterns and convince themselves that nothing really needs to change. But you already know that's not true. You feel it. That pressure in your chest. That voice in the back of your mind. That constant sense that you are meant for more. But you're not living it. That is not imagination. That is awareness. And awareness is dangerous. Because once you see, you cannot unsee. Once you realize that your life is the result of your choices, you can no longer hide behind excuses. And that is where the real fight begins. Not a fight against the world, not a fight against other people, a fight against yourself, against the version of you that resists change, the version of you that negotiates with your potential, the version of you that says, just one more day like this. That version is costing you your life, not in some dramatic way, but in small, silent ways. Every day you delay, you lose time. Every time you hesitate, you weaken your confidence. Every time you choose comfort, you reinforce the identity that keeps you stuck. And over time, that becomes your reality. So don't tell yourself you're waiting for the right moment. The truth is, you're avoiding the moment, because the moment requires action, and action exposes you. It exposes your discipline. It exposes your focus. It exposes whether you are serious or just talking. Because it's easy to think about change. It's easy to talk about growth. It's easy to imagine a better life. But it is hard to execute consistently. And that is the difference between the life you have and the life you want. Execution, not once, not when you feel motivated, every day, especially when you don't feel like it. Because let's be clear, your feelings are not reliable. Your emotions change constantly. One day you feel strong. The next day you feel weak. One day you feel focused. The next day you feel distracted. If you depend on how you feel, you will never be consistent. And without consistency, nothing changes. So you need something stronger than emotion. You need discipline, not the kind that feels good, the kind that shows up anyway, the kind that acts, even when everything inside you says stop, the kind that refuses to negotiate. Because every time you negotiate with your standards, you lower them. And once your standards drop, your life follows. So raise your standards, not by talking about it, by living it, by doing the things you said you would do, even when no one is watching, especially when no one is watching, because that is who you really are, not when it's easy, not when it's convenient, when it's hard, when it's uncomfortable, when it requires effort. That is your real identity. And right now, your identity is not aligned with your potential. You know it. You feel it. You've seen glimpses of what you could be, moments where you were focused, disciplined, unstoppable. And then you went back to comfort, back to distraction, back to the version of you that feels safe, but keeps you average. And average is a choice, not a destiny, a choice, a repeated decision to settle, to not push, to not commit fully, to not demand more from yourself. But here is the truth. You don't actually want average. You tolerate it because it's familiar, because it doesn't require transformation, because it doesn't force you to face yourself. But deep down, you know that if you don't change, nothing changes. And that should bother you, not in a negative way, but in a real way, because your life is happening now, not later, not someday, now. And every day you stay the same is a day you don't get back. So stop acting like you have unlimited time. You don't. You have this moment. And what you do with this moment defines everything. So what are you going to do? Stay the same. Repeat the cycle. Tell yourself another story about why you can't. Or finally, step into it. Because stepping into it means no more excuses. No more waiting. No more, I'll start tomorrow. It means you decide and you move immediately, not perfectly, but intentionally. And once you start, you don't stop. You adjust, you learn, you improve, but you don't stop. Because stopping is what got you here. Consistency is what will take you out. And here's something else you need to understand. You don't need to feel confident to act. You build confidence by acting. You don't need clarity to start. You gain clarity by moving. You don't need everything figured out. You figure it out along the way. But you have been waiting for certainty, waiting to feel ready, waiting for the perfect plan. And that waiting is the problem. Because perfection is an illusion. There is no perfect moment. There is no perfect version of you that suddenly appears and makes everything easy. There is only this version of you, right now, deciding to step up, or not. And if you don't, nothing changes. So make a decision, a real one, not emotional, not temporary, a decision that holds even when things get difficult, because they will get difficult. You will feel resistance. You will feel doubt. You will feel like going back. That is part of the process. That is how you know you are actually changing. Because growth feels like resistance. It feels uncomfortable. It feels unfamiliar. But that discomfort is not a signal to stop. It is a signal that you are moving in the right direction. So don't run from it. Use it. Let it sharpen you. Let it build you. Let it transform you. Because on the other side of that discomfort is a version of you that you haven't fully met yet. A version of you that is stronger, more focused, more disciplined, more certain. But that version does not come from thinking. It comes from doing, repeatedly, relentlessly, until it becomes who you are. So this is the moment, not a motivational moment, a decision point. Are you going to continue being who you've been? Or are you finally going to become who you know you can be? Because you already know the answer. Now act on it. This is it. No more build-up. No more explanation. No more preparation. This is the point where everything becomes real. Because up until now, you've been listening, thinking, feeling, reflecting. But none of that matters if nothing changes after this. And that is where most people fail, not because they don't understand, but because they don't act. They leave this moment inspired, motivated, even emotional. And then slowly, quietly, they go back to the same habits, back to the same distractions, back to the same version of themselves that they just promised to outgrow. And days later, it's like none of this ever happened, not because it wasn't powerful, but because they didn't respect it enough to act on it. So before you go any further, understand this clearly. If you walk away from this and nothing changes, that's on you, not your past, not your circumstances, not your environment, you. And that's not meant to blame you. It's meant to wake you up. Because this is the moment where you stop lying to yourself. No more, I'll try. No more, I'll see. No more, I hope. You either do or you don't. You either become or you stay the same. There is no middle ground. And deep down, you know exactly what you need to do. You've always known. You don't need another video. You don't need another book. You don't need another explanation. You need execution. Relentless, consistent, undeniable execution. Because knowledge without action is useless. Awareness without change is self-deception. And potential without discipline is wasted. So stop collecting information, stop preparing, stop waiting for the perfect mindset, start moving, even if it's uncomfortable, even if it's messy, even if you feel resistance in every part of your body. Move anyway, because action breaks inertia, action builds identity, action creates momentum, and momentum changes everything. But here's the part no one tells you. At first, it won't feel powerful. At first, it will feel forced. You will question yourself. You will doubt if it's working. You will feel like going back to what's easy. That is the test. Not a test from the world, a test from yourself, to see if you are serious, because anyone can act once. Anyone can try for a day, but very few continue when it gets difficult. Very few stay consistent when results are not immediate. Very few keep going when no one is watching, when no one is validating, when no one is applauding. That is where identity is built, in silence, in repetition, in discipline. So if you want to become different, you have to prove it, not to others, to yourself, through your actions, daily, without negotiation. Because every time you say you're going to do something, and you don't, you weaken trust in yourself. And without self-trust, nothing works. But every time you follow through, even on small things, you rebuild that trust. And that trust becomes confidence. Not fake confidence, real confidence. The kind that doesn't need validation. The kind that comes from knowing you do what you say. And that is power. Now understand this. You are not waiting to become powerful. You are already powerful. You are just undisciplined with it. Your attention is scattered. Your focus is weak. Your habits are inconsistent. And that is what's holding you back. Not lack of ability, not lack of opportunity, lack of control. Control over your thoughts, control over your actions, control over your direction, and control is built through repetition, through awareness, through discipline. So build it, one decision at a time, one action at a time, one moment at a time. Because your life is not one big event. It is a series of moments, and in each moment, you are either reinforcing your old self or creating your new one. There is no neutral. You are always becoming something. So choose, consciously, relentlessly, and don't stop. Not when it's hard, not when it's boring, not when it feels like nothing is happening. Because something is happening. You are changing, even if you don't see it yet, even if results are not visible. Internally, everything is shifting, and that internal shift eventually becomes external reality. But only if you stay consistent, only if you don't quit, only if you don't go back. Because going back is the easiest option. It requires nothing, no effort, no discipline, no growth, just familiarity. And that familiarity is a trap, a comfortable trap that keeps you exactly where you are. So break it, not once, every day. Break the pattern, break the excuse, break the habit, again and again and again, until it no longer controls you, until you become someone who acts instead of hesitates, someone who executes instead of overthinks, someone who moves instead of waits. And once you become that person, everything changes. Not because the world changes, but because you do. And when you change, your standards change, your actions change, your results change, your life changes. So this is it. No more talking, No more thinking, no more waiting. Decide, right now, who you're going to be, and then prove it. Not once, not when it's easy, every single day. Because at the end of the day, there are only two types of people: those who say they will, and those who actually do. And your future will be determined by which one you choose to become. There is a moment, quiet, almost invisible, when you stop looking outside and start listening within, not because you have all the answers, but because you've run out of places to look. You've tried distractions. You've tried noise. You've tried filling your time with things that feel important. But deep down, something remains unanswered. A question that never leaves you. Why am I here? And what am I supposed to do with this life? You don't hear a voice from the sky. You don't see a sign written in light. But something begins to shift. A thought, clearer than the rest, calmer, stronger, not loud, but undeniable. And it says, you already know. At first you doubted, because you've been taught to look for answers outside, from other people, from systems, from expectations. But this is different. This doesn't come with pressure. It doesn't come with fear. It comes with clarity. And that's what makes it powerful. Because fear shouts, but truth doesn't need to. Truth simply is. And when you begin to listen, you realize something. You've been having this conversation your entire life. You just weren't paying attention. Every intuition, every feeling that something was right or wrong, every moment you knew what to do, but didn't do it, that was the conversation. Not with something outside of you, but with something deeper, something that doesn't panic, doesn't rush, doesn't react, something that observes, that understands, that knows. And the more you listen, the more you realize you are not lost. You are just disconnected. Disconnected from your own awareness, from your own truth, from your own responsibility. Because here's what changes everything. You are not here to be saved. You are here to choose. Every moment, every decision, every action is a choice. Not forced, not random, but intentional. Even when it doesn't feel like it. Even when it feels automatic. Even when you say, I had no other option. You did. You always do. And that realization is uncomfortable because it removes the illusion that life just happens to you, that you are a victim of circumstances, that things are out of your control. Because if everything is a choice, then everything is also your responsibility, and responsibility is heavy. But it is also power, because the moment you accept responsibility, you gain control, not over everything, but over yourself. And that is where your life truly begins. Not when things go your way, not when everything is easy, but when you decide who you are going to be. In the middle of everything, in the middle of uncertainty, in the middle of struggle, in the middle of doubt. Because who you are is not defined by what happens to you. It is defined by how you respond. And that response is always yours to choose. You can react, or you can respond. You can follow patterns, or you can create new ones. You can stay the same, or you can become something more. And that something more is not something you find. It's something you create, moment by moment, decision by decision. Because life is not a fixed path. It's a constant act of creation. And you are the creator, not in some abstract way, but in a practical, daily sense, through your thoughts, through your words, through your actions. You are shaping your experience. Right now, even as you listen to this, you are choosing how to receive it, how to interpret it, what to do with it. And that choice is where everything begins. Because once you understand that you are not waiting for life to happen, but actively creating it, everything changes. Your perspective shifts. Your reactions slow down. Your awareness expands. And suddenly, you are no longer moving through life unconsciously. You are present. You are intentional. You are awake. And that awareness is the beginning of transformation.